Robin goes on to say, the couples therapist my husband and I saw was questionable from the start. We chose her because we wanted a secular therapist, and she was one of the few in our location that did not specify her religion online. On the first day, she talked to us briefly individually. She said it was to ask about physical abuse, which she did, but also she talked to me for a while about my side of things. But I don't think she did that with my husband because they spent much less time together. I've been a part of couples therapy 2 other times, and the other couples therapists didn't do that. I haven't done couples therapy, so I don't really know what the norms are for, like the intake and assessment. So I can't really comment on that. Do you have any insight on that?
It's been a minute since I've done couples therapy, but I think it's one of those clinical judgment things first of all. So you kind of have to like feel it out. So for example, like the physical abuse thing, I think that's smart. It's safe and smart to take them separately and check in. Hey, like if a clinician, if a therapist has, any indication for that, I think that's a good thing to do. But as a couples therapist, one of the big things you have to focus on or just keep in mind is making sure that both because it's 2 clients, right? It's at least 2 people. A couple, I guess, is 2 people. But that each person feels heard and listened to and understood more or less at the same level as the other person. There can't be this feeling of imbalance or unfairness, because then it won't work, because a therapist should be neutral. And when there are 2 people, the therapist should be neutral to both. So the piece about spending way more time with her than with her partner, that's a little wonky.
I would expect that if that did happen, that they would at least explain and have like a no secrets clause. Like it's pretty common for couples therapy, right? So
absolutely, that's definitely one of the things that a person has to have as a couples therapist, is that no secrets thing. Within reason, because there is if there's concerns about abuse or domestic violence.
And that's why they
but other than that, And then usually everything happens together, because if you're here for couples counseling, we're going to meet together.
I would think so. Yeah. There's no like major red flags for me as far as this goes. I would hope the therapist is transparent about, hey, I spent more time with this person because this came up or whatever, as long as it was like appropriate to disclose that. So Robin goes on to say, also on the first day, we all went over her contract together. In her contract, she said that we were not to see other therapists at the same time. This was my husband's first therapy experience, but far from my first. That really stood out to me, so I asked about it. She said the reason was something like, so 2 people weren't telling us different things to do. I still thought it was very weird. She had that in her contract, because what if we wanted to check out a few first sessions with other therapists before committing?
That's not okay.
No.
You're not the boss of what people do. If you're a therapist, like, people come to you, for support and guidance or whatever, but they're free to do that with whoever they want. If they want to meet with 5 therapists at the same time, it might not be helpful, but if that's what they want to do, they can do it.
They could.
To be clear to the listener, I don't suggest doing it, but you're definitely able to kind of shop around and kind of find who feels like the right fit.
Definitely, yeah.
You're allowed to do that.
Yeah, absolutely. And so when I meet with clients for the first time, I tell them, look, I don't assume we're going to meet again. This is a chance for us to feel each other out and see if we're a good fit. Yeah. And I might not be a good fit for you, and that's completely okay. So as part of, it sounds like what this was part of it, like an informed consent. And so an informed consent, that's normal. That's about like finances and insurance and confidentiality.
All the information you need to know.
Policies.
To make an educated decision.
But I've never heard of an informed consent, if that's what this is, involving, hey, you can't talk to other people.
You're not allowed. You're not allowed to have another friend besides me. We're best friends. Doesn't it feel like that? Like,
yeah.
I shouldn't mock. I shouldn't mock, but it just seems silly because I feel like for me, if I'm confident in my abilities and there's always going to be the possibility that a person just doesn't fit with a therapist, always. But if I'm confident in my abilities and I feel pretty certain that I can provide support, I can provide help to the client, do what you got to do, man. Go check out everybody else in the area if you want. And then
absolutely,
if I'm the right one, I'm here. And if I'm not, that's okay. Somebody else can help you.
So I would add to that, you mentioned you could have 5 therapists if you want. Now, what I would say to that is, obviously, I don't recommend that whatsoever, like you said.
It's not recommended. No.
But as a therapist, if I hear you're seeing 4 other therapists, I might say, you know what, I don't think that that whole situation is helpful. In my clinical opinion, I don't recommend this. And I think it's okay for me to step back. And if there's something I'm providing that's unique, that might be okay with like maybe one of the therapists. I wouldn't say, I know you were exaggerating, but just so people don't take that super literally. I think it's okay to have, like, you could totally have one, and it's not that uncommon in the school district where a kid has a therapist that focuses on school behavior and a therapist outside of the school that might focus on other things, or one therapist for family therapy and one therapist for individual. And I think, I'm not an expert on couple stuff, but I don't think it's super uncommon to have a different therapist for individual work versus couples work, right?
Right.
Unless you know differently.
I agree.
Yeah.
Right.
This is not a standard informed consent clause yet.
It's just, I was just going to say, if there is a need for multiple therapists, say I'm working on certain, whatever this issue with a client and Justin is working on a different issue with a client, best practice would be that we get a release of information to communicate with each other. And that way we can collaborate and say, hey, here's kind of my approach. Here's what I'm doing. Kind of, working together not overlapping, but like just complementing each other without contradicting each other and without doubling up on, service, the same thing. Because then we're both charging for services for the same service, for the same stuff.
Right.
And that's just not fair.
That would be like an unethical thing on our end to accept money for something they're already receiving. I think that would be pretty wrong. Okay.
Yeah.
So there's a little bit of wiggle room, but having it in a contract I wouldn't say that's normal for therapists whatsoever.
No, I don't.
Yeah.
I have a comment to make and I don't know if it's appropriate.
I could take it out if you like.
It's not like inappropriate. It feels like that speaks more to that therapist's ego, or what am I trying to say? Like, it feels like that's the therapist trying to cover themselves in some weird way.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I wouldn't say it has the best interest of the client. Like, you're not thinking about what the client needs.
Right. It's really about taking care of themselves as the therapist by putting that into the contract.
Yeah, I can see where you're coming from. Hey, thank you so much for watching all the way to the end. I, of course, have a lot more stuff here on YouTube, but I also have even more on my website. It's justinlmft.com. I have a blog, I have a podcast, I have free resources, and I have some paid courses as well. Head on over to justinlmft.com. I think you'll like it a lot. This and other content I create is not therapy, not intended to be therapy or be a replacement for therapy. Nothing in this creates or indicates a therapeutic relationship. Please consult with your therapist or seek for one in your area if you are experiencing mental health symptoms. Nothing should be understood to be specific life advice. It is for educational and entertainment purposes only.